That is for Deen al-Islam, religion with Allah since time began. That is for dhikr, remembering Allah, and Ra is for the month of Ramadan. Oh, Ramadan. That is for Zakat, to cure our greed, when we give our money to those in need. Sa is for Salamun Alaykum, peace be with you, wa alaykum assalam.
Nothing ever happens by chance. Really.
Now, they don't know your name. They will see your game. Turn the dark to light. Answer the call. No one can stop your shine. The world
Focus on the destination and not the journey, or where you're from. Never ever settle. Make big moves from your small space.
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Viewers at home and all our listening audience all over the world, you are welcome back to another segment of your program. Today we shall be looking at the topic Zakat Amil, safeguarding the integrity of charity, Muzaki, that is the Zakat payers, and Mustahiq, the beneficiaries. For the Zakat Amil to be able to safeguard charity, the Zakat payers, and the beneficiaries, it is important that there must be in place a good Amil governance, which we call GAG, with 13 dimensional or 13 practical dimensions, such as number one, a clear definition of the Amil as per the Zakat Charter of the Zakat organization. Number two, the rights and obligation of the Amil of Zakat. Number three, guidance of good Amil Zakat governance. Number four is the regular assessment of good Amil Zakat or good Amil governance policy. Number five is the special organizational structure responsible for good Amil governance. Number six, there must also be in place the role of the board and management of Zakat institutions. Number seven is the performance evaluation of the board of Zakat institutions. And number eight also is the performance evaluation of the management of the Zakat institution. Also included is number nine, which is the certification and development of the Amil Zakat. Number 10 is also the standard operating procedures, SOPs, of the Zakat institution. And the number 11, which must also be put in place, is the risk mitigation of good Amil governance. And number 12 is also the disclosure and transparency policy. And the last but not the least on the practical 13 dimension is the Sharia compliant and regulations, mechanism which must be put in place. Now let us quickly break this down for the proper understanding of our viewers and listening audience. Number one, which we said is the first dimension, provides essential criteria to identify the definition of Amil in the Zakat Charter of the organization. In some places where it is a state, it is the Zakat Act or related regulation of that state. And there are 5 indicators in this regard about this particular dimension. Number one is the existence of Zakat, charter. or art, as the case may be, to govern the Amil. Number 2 is the definition of the Amil, which is clearly mentioned in the Zakat Charter of the organization or the Zakat Act if it is a state-based Zakat organization. Number 3, indicator is the definition of the Amil, which should cover general responsibility of Zakat institution in managing Zakat. And then number 4 is the requirement of Zakat institution, which are regulated by the Zakat Charter or the Zakat Act, as the case may be, if it is private or if it is a state, respectively. And then number 5 indicator is in case of a Muslim minority, countries where they do not have a national Zakat institution or board, there is no any legal, recognition of Zakat nationally. In such a case, the definition of the Amil Zakat should be clearly mentioned in the memorandum of association of that particular institution. The second dimension, which has to do or which provides or aims to define the rights and obligation of the Amil. Besides the detailed explanations from the first dimension, which we have just mentioned, a Zakat institution must have 3 indicators. First, the existence of a regulation is related to the rights and obligations of the Amil. Number 2, those regulations must be governed by the Act or Charter of the Zakat institutions, as well as, those charters, relating to Zakat operations in that particular space. And then the third one is the existence of the regulation or the charter that governs the utilization of infaq, that is resources that are deployed, for spending in terms of bringing public good, and then sadaqah, funds for the Amil operational costs, if the fund that comes from the zakat, are not sufficient to meet the daily obligations. Then the third dimension is related to the guidance of the good Amil governance, which we call the GAG. There is a need for zakat institutions to have guidance that governs the good Amil governance specifically. This guidance will be assigned by the board of the Zakat institution. Also, there are at least 5 aspects that should be included in this guidance, such as the guidance of collection, guidance that relates to management. The number 3 is disbursement. The 4th is responsibility and accountability mechanism. And then, of course, that has to do with the code of ethics that regulates relation of the Amil and other stakeholders. The 4th dimension deals with the regular assessment of the good Amil governance policy. Some aspects are needed in every Zakat institution to ensure professionalism of Zakat activities. Zakat institutions have 3 aspects in this regard. Number 1 is the assessment and supervision procedure of the good Amil governance implementation. The number 2 is the indicators and measurement tools to assess and supervise the good Amil governance implementation. And then the 3rd, but not the least, or the last but not the least, is the reward and corrective systems in implementing good Amil governance. Then the 5th dimension emphasizes the special organizational structure responsible for good Amil governance. In this context, a Zakat institution should have a special division, that is organizational structure, which is responsible for supervising the good Amil governance implementation. This special division must be appointed and regulated by the board of the Zakat institution or by the director of the Zakat institution, depending on the status or the level of the Zakat institution, we're talking about. It should give periodic reporting regarding the good Amil governance implementation. Also, it is responsible for mitigating all risks due to weak good Amil governance implementation. The 6th dimension is related to the role of the board and management of Zakat institutions. There are at least 5 important roles of the board and management in this respect. First, they approve and actively oversee implementation of the Zakat supervisory direction and strategy. Secondly, they establish and communicate Islamic norms and values through code of conduct. Thirdly, they also establish fit and proper standards in selecting Amil officers who have good characters, integrity, and three basic knowledge: Zakat collection, Zakat disbursement, and financial management. Fourth, they put in place conflict of interest policies and a strong control environment. And lastly, they ensure the effectiveness of Amil governance over the Zakat institution's entire management. And of course, we have the seventh dimension, performance of evaluation of the board of Zakat institution, as well as that of the management. All this must always take place in order to ensure that there is checks and balances between the management and the staff, as well as the board that actually oversees the policies, that also determines the direction, and then the mission and the strategic position of the organization. All this, when they are put in place, it is certain to ensure that the Zakat institution, particularly the Amil Zakat, safeguards the integrity of charity, the payers, as well as the beneficiaries of Zakat. Until we come your way next time, أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر لي ولكم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
آمنت بالله وملائكته وكتبه ورسله واليوم الآخر والقدر خيره وشره من الله والبعث بعد الموت لا إله إلا الله. آمنت بالله وملائكته وكتبه ورسله واليوم